There's a bunch of things about IFS that are a little bit different to a lot of modalities and other modalities. We don't look and see what's wrong with people and such. In fact, we regard all of the things that happen inside of us as good possible things, as good things. You know, where in other modalities look at an addiction, at drinking as an issue, we go and walk towards the drinking and go, hey, I wonder what's happening here. And get curious about it and look for its good intention and getting to understand it, because in that place we can look at some healing for it.
Well, hi, Mike, from my heart place to your heart place, Alister, to the Heart Place Hospital podcast.
Yeah, thank you. I'm really excited to be here today.
And so you and I connected coming up to 2 years ago, during the major floods that we had through the North Island and beyond, and we connected through First Steps. And then recently I reached out because I'm a big fan of internal family systems, which I got introduced to through Lisa Rankin and the Whole Health Medicine Institute, and we reconnected.
Yeah. Beautiful. I'm really excited about that. And when you reached out around talking about IFS, it's like, oh yeah, that's awesome.
Yeah, totally. And that's what Heart Place is all about. You know, we're the umbrella to the cutting edge modalities that are available, and also making them available to everybody. So that these modalities that work so well aren't just for those with the privilege of having funds, that we can also offer it up to other people as well.
Fantastic.
Yeah. So I want to introduce you. So welcome everyone to the Heart Place Hospital podcast. And today's guest is Alister Gates, a dedicated therapist with a deep belief in the transformative power of compassionate, focused counselling. Alister's work supports individuals as they navigate relationship complexities, personal challenges, or seek a deeper connection with their inner selves. Practicing from Auckland and Maraetai, Alister offers in-person and online sessions to clients throughout New Zealand and internationally. At the heart of Alister's approach is internal family systems therapy, a respectful and effective method that helps clients understand and nurture the various parts of their psyche. IFS works by helping people recognise and address different parts within themselves, create a space for natural healing. This approach not only provides relief from distress, but also encourages profound awareness and inner harmony. So in today's episode, Alister, we're going to share share some insights into IFS and discuss its principles, how it works, and the remarkable impact that you've observed in your own life and with your clients. So I know I've mentioned my love for IFS, and I've experienced it a lot. I mean, I also have a parts partner as well, so I don't know if that's part of your practice as well, if you have a parts partner, but it's just been hugely beneficial to my growth and to navigating, especially the world at the moment. It's been amazing. Yeah, so I'd love to share. How did you find IFS?
Yeah, a good question. About 2 years ago, in fact, just a little bit before you and I started talking, I'd been involved in sales and marketing all my life. I have been involved with men's work for 20 years now, just working with men on a volunteer basis. But it's probably about 4 years ago now, in a session with my therapist, she said, you could actually, do what you love and what you're passionate about, and, do it and get paid for it. And I was like, oh, really? I'm saying this permission thing. I took myself back to school at 54 years old and trained to be a counsellor. And so through that process of becoming a counsellor, we get exposed to lots of modalities, CBT, DBT, all the acronyms. Throughout, there was an assignment that I did. As I started listening to things and listening to podcasts, I kept hearing this IFS thing. Everyone was talking about this IFS thing, so I thought I'd experience it. I read the book, Dick Schwartz's No Bad Parts, and it started to just make sense to me. It was like, oh, yeah. And what I really liked about it was the journey that you go on in an IFS session. And it really just resonated with me. It resonated with the men's work that I've done. I've got a little bit of a background in Jungian-based psychology as well, and shadow work. I love Gestalt work, and all of those things are sort of backgrounds to IFS and how it came about. And so it was like, I need to find out more. And so I read books and I listened to podcasts. But it wasn't until I did an introduction course about a year ago and went on a session, and I was like, oh, now I get it. Now I understand this process and how it works for me. And I was privileged enough to do an IFS training about 4 months ago and start that journey. And it was incredible. And yeah, I'm now use it in my IFS in most of my sessions with my clients now.
Amazing. I wonder if you could sort of share a little bit about what IFS is, so the different parts, the manager, the firefighter, the protector parts, and
yeah.
And
Yeah. So look, there's a bunch of things about IFS that are a little bit different to a lot of modalities and other modalities. It's non-pathologizing, so we don't look and see what's wrong with people and such. In fact, we regard all of the things that happen inside of us as good possible things, as good things. Where in other modalities look at an addiction, at drinking as an issue, we go and walk towards the drinking and go, hey, I wonder what's happening here. And get curious about it and look for its good intention and getting to understand it, because in that place we can look at some healing for it. IFS is about 40 years old as a modality, and it's really, I guess, one of those. It's still regarded as new, but it's sort of being really, really popular in the world. The way that it works is that with IFS, it talks about parts, and that within inside of us, we have multiple parts. And I like using the description with my clients that if you can imagine a bus, and at any one particular moment in time, probably one of our parts is driving the bus. So, for example, if we're driving down the road and somebody cuts in front of us, an angry part might come up, and the angry part's driving the bus. It goes, and it feels like that. And then, a little bit later down the track, somebody rings on the phone and you can't answer it and you're feeling frustrated. So then a frustrated part, might start driving as well. So all the passengers in the bus, if you can imagine, are different parts inside of us that at any one particular moment in time are sort of driving and taking our life along. Now, ultimately, there is a part which is, I guess, our core part called our self, and I use self with a capital S. Our self is, you've probably had experiences where there's this moments where you're feeling curious or compassionate or just calm. Maybe it's that sort of meditative place where you've experienced that moment in time where you feel very connected to all things, connected to myself, connected to you, connected to all things in the universe. When you're in that place, in place of compassion, you're able to look at, and healing can take place without a whole lot of judgment and preconceived ideas. So, within IFS, there's 3 types of parts. We have exiles, and they're usually really younger parts. They're sort of parts that when we're 7, 8, 9, 10 years old, something happens to us and we can't deal with it. We don't have the emotional skills to deal with it. So some kind of traumatic event, and it might be small, might be large, happens to us. We don't know how to deal with it, so we lock it away. And we go, oh, that was bad. And we put that away inside of our memory system. So those are our sort of younger parts. And then we have managers. And managers run our day-to-day stuff. They're the ones that sort of protect us from feeling bad or going somewhere or controlling things. So a manager part might be a part that goes, oh, yeah, I'm feeling a little bit nervous, so let's not go down there. Or a manager part might go, I don't want to, I don't want to be doing something today. So it sort of controls, how we sort of generally feel on a day-to-day basis. And then the third type of part is a firefighter. And they're like the emergency response team. And they come in when they really don't want you feeling something bad or something that's not working. And a firefighter part an example might be an addictive part. So like, I don't want to feel sad or I don't want to feel angry, so I'm just going to have a drink tonight, or two, or three, or four. And so the addictive, the firefighter parts are sort of like, let's stop you feeling really, really bad about something. And all of these the managers and the firefighters, they're often protecting those younger parts. They don't want those younger parts to have to feel that way again. And so, yeah, that's, I guess, the high-level view. Does it kind of answer that question?
Yeah, it does. No, it's cool. And that's exactly what I want people to hear about it. And whereas something that's just coming up, and so I have to lead it out, is it's interesting. I do a lot of work with teachers and schools and do advocacy there and talk to them about how, at this age, this is where these exiles are being formed. And so we can do some really good support here, rather than what we're kind of doing at the moment is we're now supporting these children and adults' bodies and having to do quite a lot of unburdening and a lot of work. So it's just it'd be interesting to see. And I know, like, definitely in America, I know it's new in New Zealand, but definitely in America it's being used in children as well. And actually, Dick originally created it through young people with eating disorders. So it's well used and well proven to work in those situations too.
Yes. Yeah, I did my part of my practicum training at a primary school, and it was a fascinating. And I did it on purpose because I knew that's the developmental period where a lot of this stuff happens. It's a core program between the 0 and 8 years old, 9 years old. That's where our operating systems start, and everything that happens there carries through in life. And it's most of my clients now are adults, but part of my work is to look back at their origin story and see what happened there, because that's where Dick Schwartz, the founder of IFS, he calls them basement children. And I love that term because it's like, we something happens, we lock them away. And it's usually around 35, 40 years old that the little basement children are going, let me out, let me out. Most of my clients are in that age because they've come and they've gone, oh, there's something happening, there's something going on. I can't understand. I can't understand why my relationship's falling apart, or I'm needing to drink, or something's going on. That's where they come out.
Yeah, and so are you finding, like, I find for me and when I've witnessed it, and like I said, having the partner, I just find it such a fast way to move through a situation compared to what I used to do. Because what I used to do, I only had a few different firefighters, and whereas now I've got I've kind of got a bigger toolkit to lean into, but I just find it so fast to move through. Is that what you're finding with your clients, like that you're not just years and years of therapy with people?
Absolutely, it does tend to work a lot faster. We find something that we need to work on, and within a couple of sessions we can get to the core of it and look at the healing process and the healing steps. And one of the things I didn't mention is these younger parts are usually holding a burden, something that happened to them that they believe that they have to do. And so through the healing steps, we're able to unburden that process. And if we're dealing with trauma, it's a very gentle modality where we operate from a place of self. We operate from that safe space of, calmness and curiosity. And we look at, what's going on with that younger child, and we help that younger part heal and let go of whatever belief that younger part was holding. And so, it does work a lot faster because we can literally get to the core of the matter, so much quicker.
Yeah, no, that's what I love it for too. Yeah, I know I keep going back to the younger people, and because I'm doing lots of advocacy work in schools and connected with lots of people around the world who are getting really curious about what our school systems are set up, and very often our young people are limited. Their voice is very limited within the education system, and their identity is like a lot of identity is really focused around gender and sexuality, whereas we know that self is way more than that. In fact, probably if you put that into a scale of things, that's probably like the smallest part of the scale. There's so much more to our identity. So it's no wonder that so many, and the education system hasn't changed too much to what your kind of client age group is to now. So it's no wonder that there's all these exiles to unburden. But beautiful thing is when we uplift what I call us lighthouses, people who are in front of the next generation, then it's going to give permission for that next generation to have a voice or to be seen. And that's often it, isn't it? Like that actual exile is that they haven't been heard, or they haven't been seen, or they're not enough, or they're not worthy, or it seems to be, there's a common, or safety is another one. It's a real common exile that comes through people, isn't it?
Absolutely. And look, because a lot of my clients are men, the basics of, don't cry, don't be sad, don't do all of that stuff. That's an example of what happens at those younger stages, where it's like, okay, it's not okay to have emotions or feelings. And so as a young boy, let's just put them down and put them away. There's also a lot of shaming, and I see it. I've got an 11-year-old daughter. There's a lot of shaming in the schools. There's a lot of shaming in the way that kids are taught that builds up that shame, when they're younger, and that breaks my heart. It really breaks my heart to see how that manifests out in later life when that shame is locked away at this age.
Me too. And I just, as a saying I say all the time, our mental and physical reality is manifested by our experiences in our environments. So if our experiences and environments are that we don't feel seen, heard enough, then that's going to manifest somewhere, and it's going to be in our barometer, which is our body. And then we can't hear self. People have heard my story a million times. It was 9 years ago that I got so quiet that I started to hear self again. And I think, and I was 42. I think 42 is quite a common age for that kind of awakening to occur. And it's when you start hearing those, I call them the whispers, hear the whispers again. And but yeah, I think now, the world's changed a lot. Particularly through COVID times, because we've got that real commonality throughout the whole world. And I've just been over to the States to the Whole Health Medicine Institute, which with Dr. Lissa Rankin and Dr. Jeffrey Rediger, who are massive IFS advocates, so much so that in America, they to get an IFS clinician is impossible. So they've started doing group IFS, which I've experienced, and I actually really like it.
Right.
Yeah. I actually really like it.
Yeah, and look, hey, we have the same issue in New Zealand. There's only about 20 trained IFS therapists in New Zealand. I am thrilled to say the first New Zealand training is happening in 2 weeks' time in New Zealand, so there'll be another 30 within sort of 3 or 4 months coming out. But there is a waiting list of about 500 people between New Zealand and Australia to become IFS trained. They've just recently, just to sort of give it some more credibility, there's 2 tracks to get trained in IFS. So registered practitioners who are psychologists, counsellors, psychotherapists, there's a track for them, and then there's also a track for coaches and to go down as well, so they can integrate IFS into their practice too.
Amazing. And so are you going to do your level 2? Is that part of your...
That's on the plan. Yeah, absolutely. Level 2. Yeah, I say the more I can learn, the better. The more I get into this work, there's so many courses all around the world on which is fantastic.
Yeah.
But yeah, at the moment, the IFS Institute in the US, they're sort of scrambling to go, how do we, keep a bit of lid on this to make sure that everyone's trained properly.
Yes. Yeah. Yeah, that's definitely part of Alyssa's work too, because she started up a not-for-profit too, so that it's not just for the haves, that the have-nots can access it too. So that's cool. What something I just wanted to bring up was you mentioned that a lot of your clients are men, and I think it's been a really interesting time for women. As I always talk about how there's so many. I think there's an estimate. Like I think there's. I think it's something like a billion or a million. No, it's a billion. A billion women in the world are actually transitioning through menopause right now, because we're all the baby boomer babies. And so we're all. There's a lot of, a sort of revolution around this transition. And what I'm loving to hear is that there's men supporting men as well, because as I talk about with menopause, it's not just for the woman. It's, we're always going to bump into or work with or be married to or parent by. So I think it's really cool for us to really amplify and show that there's men supporting men in the world as well. And so I'm just curious, like, are they, do you think they've, like, how do they, because that's a big step, like a woman often quite good at going and talking to others or looking for support, and how is that working out with men, do you think?
Yeah. Let me tell you a little bit about what I know about that, and I did I did sort of a thesis on this. The stats show that about 60% of men will go to therapy once and not return, which is a little bit frightening. In my cohort of becoming a counsellor, there was 65 in our cohort, only 5 were men. Coming through. I'm happy to say that's shifting a little bit. I believe in the most recent counselling cohort, it's sort of like 10 or 15 men of the 60. So there is a real, thing there that men are struggling to find other men to talk to. Now, it's interesting, the men that come and speak to me, that a lot of them are like, this is the first time I've been to counselling, this is the first time I've been to therapy. A lot of men have a distrust in other men. And so that's an issue as well. But to get men along to therapy and to have a good experience, it's really hard. And particularly in New Zealand, well, it's just actually the same all around the world. But Kiwi blokes are, hey, I can work through this. She'll be right.
She'll be right. Yeah.
Yeah, I'll figure it out.
Great wire.
Around depression, anxiety, that kind of stuff. But what I also finding is that, when a man does come to see me, there is a lot underneath the surface. Everyone has a life. Everyone has experiences. A surprising amount of men that I speak to have had sexual trauma, and that they've never spoken to anybody about before. And as many men, have sexual trauma initially, almost as women. It's the stats there, but we don't talk about it because that's not cool. And so there's a lot under the surface. So I feel a real privilege every time a man does come and see me. That it's like, yay, there's one more man, who can be a good man in this world. IFS, by the way, also works really well with couples. And we've just put that in there as well, that in couples therapy, when I see couples, often couples come to me with, he shares, she shared, they does this, she does that. There's a whole lot of blame thing going on. And in IFS, there's a real interning what's going on inside, and really going, hey, so what's going on for you in the situation? And within a couple session, I can do a singular IFS session. And you mentioned before about the witnessing for the young people. That's exactly what happens in an IFS session, where we witness usually that younger person and look at the healing of them being able to talk about something that they didn't talk about. And to have that happen within a couple where the partner can go, wow, it's the first time I've seen, my husband cry or open up about something and heal that. It has some amazing healing.
Yeah. I'll share the story about a couple's IFS that I've heard of, and the man wanted to leave the relationship, and so they actually went to Dick Schwartz, and so he had 29 parts that wanted to leave and one part that wanted to stay.
Yeah.
And then what they uncovered was that he had a belief that safe people were unsafe and unsafe people were safe, and his partner had a safe, like a safe attachment style, and he had quite an avoidant attachment style. And through that session, they were able to really unburden that exile belief and they're still together. Yeah. So it just all in one short session, and I thought, wow, that's
That's beautiful.
phenomenal, isn't it?
It's really phenomenal.
Yeah.
It is. Yeah. Where we can sort of go inside and go, what's going on inside of me?
Yeah.
Around the situation, not in a blaming kind of way, but what's going on inside of me? What are my beliefs? And heal those wounds. It opens up for some incredible stuff.
Yeah. And not only that, how I mentioned about the mental reality, but the physical reality. If those beliefs or those burdens that we're holding on to, then we're not in flow. We're not having the energy and the blood flowing through those areas, parts of our bodies, and we can now prove that the body keeps the score, and it contributes to disease. So this sort of work is supporting to sustain our health system, or our health in general. It's phenomenal.
It really is.
Yeah.
There is a quantitative study that was done on rheumatoid arthritis sufferers with IFS. And what they found is that when they started to address the pain and focus on the pain and do an IFS session actually on the pain, that I think it's about 70% of them felt less pain when they got to understand it and started a relationship with what was going on inside their body. And I've had some incredible sessions with people with neck pain, leg pain, chronic pain, been able to reduce them, from a 9 out of 10 down to a 3 or 4, just by getting to know and understanding the part and the messaging, what's going on. And rather than running away from the pain and trying to mask it, but actually going towards the pain, has just, I've just been blown away by the results, when I do that.
Yeah, and that's a big part of Heart Place Hospital, is actually getting to that root cause rather than masking it, which is what our firefighter parts have been so amazing to supported us to survive to this point, and then now we can create space to actually address the root causes. Yeah.
That's right.
Yeah, I love it. Oh, well, thank you so much. That's so valuable to hear, and to have someone so close to, in New Zealand, providing this to us. So I just wonder if you could share with our listeners something that's coming up in your Heart Place and how people can find you.
Yeah. In talking to you, Jackie, I feel excitement. I feel excitement in being able to talk about IFS and talk about the possibilities for it. So it's right now I'm sitting on there. There's a part of me that feels excited, and it goes, the more people that can experience IFS, the better. So that's what's there for me now, and gratefulness. I feel sitting on gratitude for the work that you do in sharing these incredible modalities with the world. So. Thank you for doing that, your work. Yeah. I can be found at alistergates.com, or just really looking up IFS. There's also a website, IFS Aotearoa, where you can see any other IFS practitioners. So I'm on there amongst the other IFS practitioners. I'm just standing for people to experience this modality, as well. Yeah, thank you.
Amazing. Yeah, and the more people that support Heart Place Hospital, that the more that we can offer it up to those who are in front of our most vulnerable citizens, so that can ripple effect off, because it really does. I notice it with myself with my partner, and it lifts up my.
Absolutely.
Yeah, and then I can keep doing this work, and you can keep doing your work, and the ripple effect is just so it's phenomenal and sustainable. Yeah. Oh, thank you so much. Look forward to sharing this with our listeners, and I'll catch up with you soon, Alister.
Yeah, thank you so much.
Okay. Bye.